This man is a psychiatric patient who eliminates harm for the people by day, but at night he transforms into a murderous demon feared by everyone in the martial world. All because he single-handedly charged up Manhwa, and in just one night, slaughtered the entire sect to extinction. When the major sects of the martial world arrived in force to rescue them, what they saw instead was a hellish scene of carnage. Is this really the Manhwa we know? This is practically the work of a devil. Who on earth turned Manhwa into a sea of blood? At that moment, a staggering figure came walking from afar, muttering nonstop, "It's over, it's all over, the Manhwa sect has been completely wiped out." Everyone immediately recognized him. Isn't that the Plum Blossom Swordsman of the Manhwa sect? The Plum Blossom Swordsman spoke in despair. The enemy defeated all of us by himself. Before he could finish, a flash of sword light suddenly lit up behind him, and split the Plum Blossom Swordsman in two on the spot. Seeing this, the crowd roared, "You devil, get the hell out here." Then they saw a blood-soaked man walk out, still carrying a severed head in his hand. Quite a few came. Huh? Shaolin, Wudong, Qingqing, Namgam, the four great sects, all here. Who exactly are you? Why are you massacring everyone here? Well, because he heard that the Manhwa sect is the strongest sect in today's martial world. As he spoke, he casually tossed out the head of the Manhwa sect leader. Now that I've seen it, the rumors were only this impressive. Perfect. With so many of you here, you should be able to entertain him a little more, right? By now the crowd was trembling with rage, all drawing their weapons. Today I will cut you down right here and console the souls of Manhwa's dead. With that, the major sects all charged together to besiege Dong Bongsu. Watching this scene, he actually smiled. Sure enough, this is an interesting world. When Dong Bongsu woke up again, he was already back home. This game is way too thrilling. As expected, taking on a whole crowd of experts was still too much. It turned out this was a newly developed virtual reality game. Because the combat scenes were terrifyingly realistic, the game quickly attracted countless players. Just as Dong Bongsu was still reliving the scene from moments ago, an urgent news bulletin suddenly interrupted the TV broadcast. The president of Daechuan Company is currently missing, and the police are conducting a citywide search. At the same time, a faint cry for help came from the room behind Dong Bongsu. That instantly caught his attention. "This game was too fun? I almost forgot about you." As he said this, Dong Bongsu picked up the iron hammer beside him, and slowly, step by step, walked toward the room behind him. A middle-aged man was kneeling on the floor, desperately begging for mercy. And this man was the missing president mentioned in the news. The reason Dong Bongsu had kidnapped him was because this fat bastard was nothing but human trash. He liked abusing and even murdering innocent women. And in the name of justice, Dong Bongsu treated people like him as prey. No matter how the fat man begged, Dong Bongsu showed no reaction at all, and directly pressed his head down onto the chopping board. How many times have you already used this begging routine? Aren't you sick of it? Just as Dong Bongsu's hammer was about to come down, the fat man suddenly burst out with a survival instinct, and rammed his head into Dong Bongsu's abdomen. Caught off guard, Dong Bongsu dropped his weapon and was knocked back several meters. The fat man seized the opportunity, and with a violent effort, snapped the zip tie around his arm. "You bastard. I'll make sure you die without a burial place." The next second, he swung the hammer at Dong Bongsu. Seeing this, the corner of Dong Bongsu's mouth curled slightly. He merely stepped to the side, and dodged the blow. The fat man instantly began trembling in fear. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Dong Bongsu exploded with a punch, smashing it hard into his abdomen. The fat man was in such pain that his eyeballs looked like they were about to pop out. But Dong Bongsu didn't stop. He followed up with a savage kick to his waist, sending his heavy body flying. At this moment, the fat man had nothing left but despair. Yet in the terror of death, he still instinctively crawled toward the light source. He thought that where there was light, there was hope. Only when he saw what lay beyond the light did he understand what hell truly meant. There were only corpse after corpse, shriveled like mummies. Most humans are like herbivores, but hidden among them are a few carnivorous beasts. They attack and devour beings weaker than themselves. And I am the hunter who specializes in killing those carnivorous beasts. As Dong Bongsu approached step by step, the fat man's fear reached its peak. Just then, the door was suddenly kicked open. A large group of uniformed people rushed in. In an instant, Dong Bongsu was surrounded layer upon layer, with no gap to break through. "Dong Bongsu, I am now formally arresting you on suspicion of kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, and murder." Dong Bongsu looked surprised. "How did you find this place?" "Unexpectedly." The other side said nothing and simply opened fire. "Kid, don't move. The next shot won't miss on purpose." Looking at the scene before him, Dong Bongsu felt as if he had returned to the martial world inside the game. This feeling is wonderful. Do you know, this guy killed 6 women in total. He tortured them to death and even filmed it for fun. The corpses behind him are the same, they're all murderers. Don't you think they're just a bunch of animals? I merely became a hunter who hunts animals. But after hearing all this, the officer in front of him not only showed no anger, but slowly lit a cigarette instead. Even if everything you said is true, so what? In my eyes, you're nothing but an illegal psychopathic killer too. Hearing that, Dong Bong-su burst into laughter. Sure enough, there was no reasoning with these mortals. With that said, Dong Bong-su swung the iron hammer in his hand. The officer wanted to stop him, but it was already too late. The gunshot and the sound of a skull exploding rang out at the same time. I have never regretted what I've done. If there is a next life, I only hope I can slaughter these animals as I please. Just like in that wonderful world of the martial world. Scene after scene of the past flashed like a revolving lantern, replaying wildly in the final moment of Dong Bong-su's life. When Dong Bong-su woke up again, he discovered that he was somehow still alive. Not bad, kid, you're pretty tough. You didn't die even after that. But when the man met Dong Bong-su's stagnant, dead-water-like eyes, an indescribable fury instantly shot to his head. You little brat, do you know how much trouble it took for me to drag you back from the street? Just you wait, tomorrow you're definitely dead. Having been beaten for no reason, Dong Bong-su's anger instantly flared up. He stared at the man's departing back and picked up a stone from the ground, ready to rush up and fight him hard. But the moment he stood up, his entire skeleton crackled, and his limbs completely refused to obey him. And the next second he crashed heavily back to the ground. When Dong Bong-su saw those thin arms, he finally realized something was wrong with this body. He hurriedly pulled open his clothes, and only then confirmed it. This body was not his at all. He looked warily toward the outside of the door, wanting to figure out where exactly he was. The next second, Dong Bong-su was stunned by the scene before his eyes. This scene was so familiar it cut to the bone. It was exactly the martial world he longed for even in his dreams. Dong Bong-su could hardly believe it, that his wish had been fulfilled in this way. Wonderful. Welcome, player Dong Bong-su, to Murim Online, a world where the strong reign supreme. The original owner of this body was called Sosum. A natural disaster took away his family, leaving him all alone, struggling to survive like an insect. To earn a mouthful of food, he became the lowest-ranking servant of the Domley family. Anyone could bully him whenever they wanted. Sosum, get out here right now. I need you to do something. You mean right now, sir? But I haven't finished cleaning the stable yet. Before Sosum could finish speaking, a big hand clamped tightly over his mouth. I'm not discussing this with you. Don't forget what your status is. You're just an orphan the Donley family picked up, so don't get cocky when shown a little kindness. In the next moment, Dong Bong-su was taken to the blacksmith shop by Guak Dong-o. Ma Chiel, meanwhile, ran off to the inn to enjoy himself. When the owner saw that only the two of them had come, he couldn't help but worry. You too, can you really carry that many weapons? Boss, you misunderstand. For this kind of work, Sosum alone is enough. Sosum is like a fine horse, there's nothing he can't carry. Alright, Sosum, stop lying around and hurry up and move the weapons. After saying that, he turned around and went off to the inn to have fun as well. The owner felt very sorry seeing this, but there was nothing he could do. This was a world where the weak were prey to the strong. To survive, people could only struggle like insects. Even if he fell, even if the road ahead was full of thorns, he still had to crawl to the finish. But fate loved tormenting people the most. Even though he had completed today's task, his body had been driven into complete exhaustion. He walked on the road back like an emotionless corpse. Suddenly, Sosum seemed to have run into a mountain. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. The only response he got was a heavy punch. Where exactly did I start going wrong? Was it when I knocked on the Donley family's gate in order to survive? Or when the typhoon took my family and I alone survived? Maybe it started the moment I was born in a place like this? Dong Bong-su had a very, very long dream. When he woke up, he immediately understood that everything in the dream was the experience of this body's original owner. In other words, the real Sosum had already been beaten to death back then, and Dong Bong-su's consciousness had entered this body. Just then, out of the corner of Dong Bong-su's eye, he caught sight of something strange. It was the system window of Murim Online. These past few days, Dong Bong-su had been too badly injured, so Ma Chiel brought him food every day. Damn it, I actually have to serve that brat every single day. After finishing work, he should have just gone home obediently. But no, he had to run into that ill-tempered Peng Durang. And now look, I'm the one stuck cleaning up this bastard's mess. I might as well just kill him. But the risk is too high. If I really get found out, my head will roll too. Full of anger, Ma Chiel kicked open the stable door, and casually threw today's food in front of Dong Bong-su. Then he left without even looking back. 2 weeks had already passed since Dong Bong-su transmigrated here. From what Ma Chiel said and from the information he gathered outside, he knew that the people here used Chinese characters, but this was not Earth, because martial arts really did exist here. It was the kind of power that only appeared in movies and novels. People could dart through the air, moving so fast the naked eye couldn't follow. Here, the legendary martial arts truly existed. It was practically a live-action version of Murim Online. And there was also the system window. A game-like status bar floated before Dong Bong-soo's eyes, but no one else could see it at all. At first he thought this place was just a game world, but after observing for several days, he became certain this was unquestionably the real world. Every single person he met had their own consciousness. Every one of them was a living, breathing human being. If this place is real, then am I a human, or a player? Just as Dong Bong-soo was still deep in thought, Kwak Dong-oh walked in through the doorway. So my little brother, you know what? Someone got beaten half to death because of some idiot and was only released today. I've been thinking about you the whole time. However, when he saw who it was, Dong Bong-soo merely rose slowly to his feet. He picked up today's dinner, and swallowed it in one gulp. You little bastard, didn't you hear me talking to you? Looks like you really do want to die. Hearing the threat, Dong Bong-soo only stared at him with cold eyes, then smashed the porcelain bowl in his hand to pieces. He grabbed a sharp shard and drove it straight into Kwak Dong-oh's neck. Blood sprayed wildly from Kwak Dong-oh as he muttered incomprehensible sounds nonstop. Unfortunately, the guy you knew was already killed by all of you long ago. As he spoke, Dong Bong-soo raised the shard again and stabbed at him fiercely. At this moment, he had completely fallen into madness. The sounds of flesh splitting and his laughter intertwined together. The whole world seemed to be dyed red with blood. Scalding blood fell drop by drop like a rainstorm. Whether I'm human or a player doesn't matter anymore. I'm only certain of one thing: this place is reality. This world runs like a game. The weak are prey to the strong, and the strong reign supreme. At last, I no longer need to hide my true nature. I'm going to hunt here to my heart's content. Hunt those stronger, higher-ranking predators. This place will become a true paradise for hunters. Thus, Dong Bong-soo completed his first kill after crossing over. Logically speaking, someone like this had no value as prey, but there was one thing he had to confirm. That was that this system's inventory seemed somewhat different from what he remembered. The inventory in Murim Online was a grid, and each slot could only hold one type of item. But now it had turned into a chaotic interface, and when he reached his hand toward it, he could actually pass straight through. Inside seemed to be an enormous space, at least hundreds of square meters in size. If this system interface functions the same way as in the game, then as long as I touch the item I want to store with my hand. With a thought, Kwak Dong-oh's corpse instantly turned into data. The next second, those streams of data were directly sucked into the system space. Dong Bong-soo stared in shock at the bizarre scene before him. A guy that big actually fit in there just like that. This function is way too useful. At that moment, Dong Bong-soo suddenly thought, if it's a living thing, can it be stored too? He had to try it when he got the chance. The scene shifted to a few days later. The injuries on Dong Bong-soo's body had basically healed. To avoid arousing suspicion, he pretended that he had become mute. While continuing to do the usual dirty and exhausting work, he secretly observed this world. Suddenly, Machiel slapped Dong Bong-soo from behind. You brat, I heard you turn mute? To avoid exposing himself, Dong Bong-soo could only grin foolishly and mumble sounds no one could understand. You mute brat, stop slacking off here. Take that horse out for a walk. Dong Bong-soo merely bowed to show that he understood. Machiel cursed irritably. Good grief, what am I supposed to do with an idiot who can't even talk? The scene changed, and Dong Bong-soo led the fine horse onto the street. Just as Dong Bong-soo was admiring the old-fashioned street scenery, several ill-intentioned figures suddenly appeared from the corner. It was actually a group of little brats picking up stones and hurling them at Dong Bong-soo. A piece of gravel struck his head on the spot, and blood flowed continuously down through the gaps in his hair. Big idiot Sosum has turned into mute idiot now. Just as the little monsters were about to keep mocking him, Dong Bong-soo's face darkened, and a terrifying pressure radiated from him. The chubby boy thought he was seeing things and kept rubbing his eyes. But when he looked again, Dong Bong-soo still appeared to be his usual foolish self. Dong Bong-soo mumbled a few incoherent sounds and turned to leave. The chubby boy thought Dong Bong-soo had backed down and immediately became smug again. He kept jeering at his departing figure. Sosum is a mute, he can't do anything, he's an idiot. The scene shifted, and Machiel arrived at the entrance to the weapons storeroom. He was still grumbling. They actually made me come sort the weapons by myself. Who knows where the hell Kwak Dong-oh has been these past 2 days? At that moment, Dong Bong-soo came out of the weapons storeroom. Machiel was shocked to discover that the weapons in the storeroom had been arranged neatly and orderly. You brat, you finished all my work? Dong Bong-soo immediately nodded and bowed, fawning repeatedly. Who would have thought this guy would become smarter after dying once? At that moment, Dong Bong-soo took out a small cloth pouch, indicating it was a tribute from Machiel. As soon as Machiel opened it, he froze. Inside it was full of copper coins. You brat, you're pretty good at handling things today. You finally understand some rules. I guarantee that from now on, Kwak Dong-oh will never dare bully you again. After saying that, Machiel left with the money pouch in hand, grinning broadly. Meanwhile, The foolish look on Dong Bong-su's face slowly faded, and his eyes turned cold. Go ahead and laugh all you want now. It won't be long before you can't laugh anymore. With money in hand, Machiel was thrilled. Since I've got money today, I'll go have some fun with that little vixen. Soon, he hurried excitedly to the Phoenix Inn. Master Machiel, what wind blew you here today? I'll go call Ang Ang out right away. Boss, wait a second. I'm not looking for Ang Ang today. That top courtesan of yours, Chozian, I'm picking her tonight. Hearing that, the owner's face instantly sank, because he knew Machiel normally had no money and couldn't afford the top courtesan. But when he saw the pouch of copper coins in Machiel's hand, he immediately piled on a smile again. Master Machiel, this way please, I'll have Chozian come over at once. The scene shifted, and Machiel had already entered the private room, waiting excitedly. Before long, a stunning beauty pushed the door open and entered. As expected of the top courtesan, she's more than 100 times prettier than Ang Ang. Yet while they were laughing and making merry, Machiel had no idea that in the gap behind the wooden boards at his back, a blood-red eye was staring fixedly at this place. That's right, the owner of that eye was none other than the mad protagonist. Time returned to a little earlier. The owner watched Machiel walk into the Phoenix Inn, then lowered his head to look at the pouch of copper coins in his hand, and the corners of his mouth immediately lifted into a satisfied smile. But at that moment, a figure walked in. The person who entered was Dong Bong-su, who had followed Machiel all the way. Mute, what are you doing here? Do you know what kind of place this is? If you don't get out right now. But before the owner could finish speaking, he was interrupted by the money pouch Dong Bong-su handed over. With great difficulty in his pronunciation, he squeezed out the 4 words, Miss Ang Ang. The owner opened the pouch, and when he saw it filled to the brim with copper coins, his pupils instantly widened. He immediately put on a friendly smile. Sir, please go upstairs to the 2nd floor. Ang Ang will be there shortly. And just like that, Dong Bong-su also went up to the 2nd floor of the Phoenix Inn. Everything happening in Machiel's room was seen clearly by Dong Bong-su next door. After Machiel had his fill of passion, Dong Bong-su silently slipped over from the neighboring room. Just as Machiel was still reveling in his own prowess, Dong Bong-su gently brought the bandage in his hand toward him, and in the next second looped it around his neck, tightening it instantly. He yanked both ends of the bandage hard with both hands and strangled him to death. Damn it, which damned bastard is this? Machiel reacted and struggled frantically, but Dong Bong-su's chokehold did not loosen in the slightest. At the moment of life and death, Machiel used the last of his strength to leap up violently, and slam Dong Bong-su to the ground with his huge body. So what even if you do that? As long as Dong Bong-su's hands did not loosen, there was no escape for him. Tonight, either you die, or I do. As Dong Bong-su gradually applied more force, Machiel's whole body began to convulse, and those once lively eyes slowly rolled white. How marvelous, to personally feel a life disappear bit by bit before my eyes. Dong Bong-su fought to the very end and finally strangled him to death. Then his gaze fell on the woman beside them, who was still sound asleep. He walked up to her and lowered his head to stare. With just one look, he was certain this woman was a herbivore. After confirming that she had not awakened, Dong Bong-su turned and walked toward the wooden board he had come through. The reason an extra passage had suddenly appeared here was because he had made use of the system inventory. As long as he touched the wooden board in front of him, he could directly store it in the space. Sure enough, figuring out more ways to use the system is crucial for future hunting. And after I killed Machiel, my experience points also went up. Which means this place is just like the game. You can gain experience by killing people, then level up and grow stronger. The stronger I become, the easier hunting will be. At the same time, my experience will increase even faster. Perfect, he can grow stronger without limit. This is how the world ought to be. And at this moment, the owner finally met Miss Ang Ang outside the door. My apologies, I was delayed by something just now. Stop dawdling, the guest is still waiting for you inside, so hurry in. Since he paid, even if the other party is a mute, you still have to serve him well. Come to think of it, Machiel and Chozian have been in there so long without coming out. They're not really planning to spend the whole night inside, are they? The owner impatiently knocked on Machiel's door. Brother Machiel, that's about enough. Chozian should come out now. But after waiting a long time, there was no movement at all from inside. Just as the owner was about to start cursing loudly, Chozian's scream suddenly came from inside the room. The owner's face changed, and he immediately pushed the door open and rushed in to check, only to see Chozian wrapped in a quilt, looking up in terror. The owner was so frightened that he collapsed to the ground on the spot. He never could have imagined that the spirited and swaggering Machiel from just moments ago would hang himself in his own inn. From then on, a virus that could lead people silently toward death began to spread quietly across this royal land. Since ancient times, it was precisely because the land was fertile and the lakes were interconnected that commerce and trade were able to flourish continuously. But once money gathers in one place, bandits and villains are bound to follow. To maintain order, many powerful clans gradually rose in the region of Anhui. Among them, the most representative were the Namgung clan, the #1 family in Anhui, and the Danri clan. Although the Danri family was not one of the 5 great families, it was still considered a top-tier noble house in the Central Plains. In particular, they were famous for their exclusive military force, the Cross Heavenly Sword Legion, and for their intelligence-renowned enforcement unit, the Black Crow Squad. These two forces were especially well known throughout the Central Plains. However, the Black Crow Squad had recently run into an extremely thorny matter. Another suicide plague? More than 100 people have killed themselves for no reason this month already. There were suicides before too, but at most 1 or 2 a month. It's never been this outrageous. There is absolutely something abnormal about this, but at present all the evidence points to one thing. They really did commit suicide. Something like this, is it really possible? Chief Ji Daehyo suddenly thought of something and immediately asked who the first person to commit suicide was. When he learned that it was Machiel of the Danri family, and that he had killed himself while listening to music at the Phoenix Dragon Inn, Ji Daehyo immediately led his men to the scene of the incident. If this so-called suicide plague was actually murder, then how exactly did the killer get in to kill Machiel? After carefully examining the scene, Ji Daehyo found that every possible entrance and exit could be ruled out. Then that left only this wall. If the wooden boards were removed, it really would allow free passage. But the problem was that there was absolutely no trace of it having been tampered with. Because to remove the boards without damaging them, the entire roof would have to be lifted off first. Could it be that it really could only be explained as suicide? When Machiel died, was there anyone in the next room? Reporting to you, sir, yes. That person arrived around the same time as Machiel. It was Sosum of the Danri family. At that moment, Dong Bong-su was still leading a horse around the streets. He had killed enough people lately that his experience bar was nearly full. And he had also discovered that the stronger the target, the more experience it gave. But as he was now, he was still no match for those martial artists. Just as he was thinking about his next target, a voice called out, "Isn't this Sosum? Haven't seen you in a few days. How come you seem a lot more handsome?" A group of street thugs stood at the entrance of an alley grinning at him. "Why don't you come over here and greet your big brothers properly?" Dong Bong-su had not expected that even if Sosum had been stupid before, he had still at least belonged to the Danri family. Yet he could still be bullied by trash like this. Seeing that Dong Bong-su showed no reaction to what he said, the gang leader walked up and grabbed Dong Bong-su by the hair. "Sosum, come on, let's find somewhere quiet and have a nice little talk. How about it?" With that, he dragged Dong Bong-su into the alley. Meanwhile, Dong Bong-su was calculating whether he could kill them all and disguise it as suicide, or simply stuff the bodies into the system inventory. It was just that there were too many of them, making exposure likely, and even if he killed them all, the experience gain would not be much. "I'll take a few hits first and stabilize the situation, then find a chance to deal with them later." But just as a thug swung his fist at Dong Bong-su, "That's enough. Don't start anything here." A voice from the darkness instantly suppressed the scene. "Didn't I tell you to invite him over?" When the thug saw who had come, he immediately began trembling in fear. "Brother Django, why did you come in person?" But Django paid him no attention at all and walked straight toward the fine horse behind Dong Bong-su. "Nice horse. Our Black Snake Guild leader is most obsessed with horses. So I want to present this horse to our leader. What do you think?" Dong Bong-su sensed the killing intent coming from him. This man had intended to kill and take the horse from the very beginning. He had simply chosen the wrong prey. Seeing that Dong Bong-su still did not move, Django's face turned completely cold. "I don't want to say it a second time." Before he even finished speaking, Dong Bong-su said coldly, "Drop the act. If you want it, then come kill me and try." With that, he swung his fist straight at the man's head. At the same time, he summoned the system space and instantly took out the dagger inside. To everyone else, it looked as if a blade had appeared out of thin air in his hand. The originally composed Django's pupils contracted on the spot, his face filled with horror. But everything was already too late. Until his death, he never understood how exactly he had died. The dagger pierced his neck with perfect precision. The next second, dazzling light exploded from Dong Bong-su's body. "Congratulations, player. Your level has increased to level 2. The surrounding thugs were blinded by the intense light and could not open their eyes. "This is definitely evil sorcery. That damned bastard actually knows this kind of sinister witchcraft." But when he barely managed to make out the scene inside the light, cold sweat instantly poured down his body. A terrifying shadow was emerging as if from the abyss. "A devil. This guy has to be a devil." The thugs turned and ran. He did not know what exactly he had just seen, but he knew one thing: if he did not run, he would die. As long as he rushed into the patch of sunlight ahead, he would survive. But the next second, the man's calf was ruthlessly cut off. He crashed heavily to the ground. "When hope is right in front of my eyes, am I really going to die here? That guy used to be nothing but a coward." And when we bullied him, he would only grin stupidly. Why has he now turned into such a terrifying demon? I can't accept this. I'm actually going to die at the hands of such an ugly monster. When the man woke up again, he found that he was somehow still alive. Not bad. You woke up pretty fast. Seeing the bald man awaken, Dong Bongsu slowly walked toward him. He took out a dagger and pressed it directly against the man's neck. I ask one question. You answer one question. One extra word is worthless nonsense. Who was that man called Django just now? With death hanging over his head, the bald man was so frightened that he spilled everything he knew. Django was actually a cadre of the Black Snake Guild, and the Black Snake Guild was one of the gang forces that controlled the back streets of Phoenix. Its leader was named Bang Poyam, and it was he who had instructed Django to kill and seize the horse. I'm just a lackey who runs errands. Please, I'm begging you, let me go. Tell me everything you know about the Black Snake Guild. If the information is useful, I'll spare your life. Hearing that he could live, hope instantly lit up in the bald man's eyes. But in the end, he still could not escape death. Dong Bongsu lightly touched him with his palm, and the bald man immediately turned into particles of light and was stored in the system space. After he cleaned away every trace, the alley returned to dead silence. He began organizing the intelligence he had just obtained. People like gangsters are positioned perfectly between martial artists and ordinary people. They are the most suitable prey for leveling up. I didn't expect to find them this quickly. And when I leveled up just now, all the wounds on my body disappeared completely. Maybe even damage to the heart or brain can be restored. This is almost exactly the same as the game. There's also the light that appears when leveling up. It looks flashy, but it could also attract real danger. That flaw must be hidden. If a hunter wants to entangle his prey, he must appear ordinary enough. Only when I resemble the crowd so closely that I can't be distinguished from them am I the highest level hunter. From now on, if I level up, it must either be at the instant a hunt ends, or only where the prey is present. Now, relying only on the disguise of being a mute is no longer enough. Without being discovered, I must grow stronger as quickly as possible. Thinking this, Dong Bongsu led the horse out of the dark alley, slowly merged into the crowd, and his figure was soon swallowed by the tide of people. After he returned to the stable, the system suddenly popped up an error message box. This made him sink into thought. The reason was probably within himself. And because of this error, the attributes that had previously shown only question marks now turned into progress bars. Curious, Dong Bongsu opened the skill panel below. The next second, an entire row of skills filled his vision. Skills: slash, thrust, guard, throw, spirit eye. The ones at the front were all default passives from Murim Online, but he had never heard of spirit eye. Just as Dong Bongsu was still studying the effects of spirit eye, the system prompted, an enemy more than 10 levels higher than you has entered within a 20-meter radius. As time passed, that 20-meter range was continuously shrinking. Dong Bongsu stared at the line in disbelief. This looked like some sort of warning system. In other words, a dangerous person is approaching me right now. That shouldn't be possible. Very few people would dare trespass into the Danri family grounds. And if it were an intruder, they couldn't possibly be moving this slowly. That means the person approaching is most likely an expert from within the family itself. Although I don't know exactly how large a gap 10 levels represents, judging from the price I paid just to reach level 2, that gap must be unbelievably huge. If I only kill ordinary people, then to reach level 10, I would probably need to kill thousands, maybe even tens of thousands. A martial artist of that level would not be common even within the Danri family. The next second, the door in front of him was pushed open. The Black Crow squad chief walked in with his subordinates. Dong Bongsu immediately put on a shocked expression. He knew that he absolutely could not reveal even the slightest flaw. This man was definitely not someone he could fool casually. You must be Sosum, right? Tell me, was it you who killed Machil? Hearing this, Dong Bongsu immediately showed a terrified expression. He babbled and gestured frantically, desperately indicating that it was not him. But Ji Dehyo had no intention of stopping there. He suddenly exerted force with his palm, and a surge of violent true chi instantly poured into Dong Bongsu's body. Dong Bongsu felt that force rampaging wildly through his body, then frantically converging toward a certain place. That place was like a black hole, swallowing all the energy completely clean. Ji Dehyo probed for a moment, then withdrew his hand, and let out a soft sigh. It seems I was mistaken. With that, he turned and left. Only a pair of cold eyes remained in the darkness, silently watching their departing backs. Chief, are we just leaving like this? Weren't you suspicious of him? Why not interrogate him formally? There's no need anymore. Just now, I injected Chu Chi into his body to investigate. Even someone who has practiced even a little martial arts would definitely leave traces inside the body. But the result was empty. There was nothing at all. I can be sure, he's just an ordinary person who has never learned martial arts. Could so many people really have committed suicide? If it really is a suicide plague, then how many more people have to die before it ends? But from that day onward, the suicide plague suddenly vanished without a trace, and in its place, a new bloody storm swept across all of Phoenix. A nameless wandering hero suddenly emerged in the underworld, and began settling accounts with those gangs one by one. Even the famous White Tiger Gang and Scarlet Wolf sect were directly wiped out. Keep your voice down. Only the Black Snake Guild is left now. If they hear you, it won't end well. What's there to be afraid of? Sooner or later, our nameless hero will deal with them too. Hearing these rumors about himself, Dong Bongsu silently left the inn, and walked toward tonight's target, the last gang, the Black Snake Guild headquarters. Because the nameless hero had been striking again and again lately, panic had already spread through the Black Snake Guild. I heard that guy has already wiped out 3 gangs. Now only the Black Snake Guild is left. All of you, stay sharp and stop slacking off. But in the very next second, the man beside him was beheaded on the spot. The man stared at the scene before him in utter disbelief. The companion who had been alive just a moment ago had fallen in the blink of an eye. The instant he drew his sword to protect himself, Dong Bongsu was already standing behind him, and with a single clean, decisive slash, took his life directly. Go down and keep your companion company. After that, Dong Bongsu slowly pushed open the gates of the Black Snake Guild, and without pausing for even a step, walked straight inside. Dong Bongsu was still wondering where everyone inside had hidden, when the next second, a rain of arrows fell from the sky. Dong Bongsu immediately leapt backward and avoided the arrows. He raised his eyes toward the direction the arrows had come from, and beneath the city wall, a dense mass of Black Snake Guild members poured out in an instant. So they had already laid a trap and were only waiting for Dong Bongsu to walk into it himself. The man in the lead shouted sternly, "You nameless rat, and you dare come cause trouble in the Black Snake Guild." Facing this pack of ferocious thugs, Dong Bongsu did only one thing. He assumed the opening stance for drawing his sword. Get him! Kill this arrogant bastard! As soon as the words fell, everyone grabbed their weapons and charged in together. Some even leapt into the air and attacked Dong Bongsu from all sides. Dong Bongsu gripped the hilt tightly, and a powerful force instantly wrapped around the entire scabbard. The 3 forces sword art, sweep away 1,000 troops. With a flash of sword light, the men rushing forward were cut in 2 on the spot. The thugs in the rear who had not yet charged were completely dumbstruck at the sight. But by the time they thought of running, it was already too late. Dong Bongsu's blade never stopped. It was as fast as the wind, and one thug after another fell. At that moment, an elite in the distance split his eyes with rage. All of you, get out of the way. I'll kill this brat myself. He lunged forward with his spear. Dong Bongsu casually seized the wrist of the man beside him, gave it a light twist and throw, and hurled that man into the air. Immediately after, he used the momentum to smash the man into the elite, while the long blade in his hand was already in position. With one thrust, both men were skewered together on the spot. Until the moment of his death, that elite could not believe that he would die at the hands of someone as despicable as Dong Bongsu. Just then, a scar-faced man suddenly appeared behind Dong Bongsu and brought down his blade. Brat, go to hell. Dong Bongsu tried to draw his sword and turned to counterattack, but he had not expected that his sword would be firmly seized by the thug from before. At the razor's edge between life and death, Dong Bongsu used the system space to strike out a flash of sword light from behind, instantly splitting the scar-faced man's head in half. That's impossible. He clearly didn't even turn his head. Dong Bongsu was just inwardly relieved that he had prepared a backup plan in advance, when a dagger suddenly plunged into his abdomen without warning. The violent impact blasted his whole body flying. Finally caught your opening. I thought you were some monster that didn't fear death, but it turns out you're just a person who bleeds too. As long as you're human, we can kill you. Dong Bongsu grabbed the broken blade lodged in his abdomen with his bare hand and yanked it out, then raised his hand and lifted off the bamboo hat blocking his vision. Wonderful. In such a beautiful world, I'm going to enjoy myself properly. With those words, Dong Bongsu smiled and charged back into the crowd once more. Meanwhile, in a thatched hut not far from the exit beneath the city wall, several men hid in the shadows and coldly observed the battle. What's going on? There are a lot fewer screams now? Don't tell me he really killed everyone by himself? Usually we just extorted a bit of money and have done a little human trafficking a few times. There are plenty of bastards worse than us, so why is he targeting us specifically? Just because we're easy to bully? We have to settle him here. We absolutely cannot let him break through to the back. The guild leader is in the manor. Just then, a figure appeared at the gate of the tower. The man immediately ordered the hidden archers to fire. The next second, countless arrows shot out from inside the thatched hut, all racing toward that dark silhouette. He then stuck his head out, anxious to confirm whether the target was dead. But in the very next second, the archer behind him was suddenly decapitated. Then, as if a plague were spreading, the people inside the hut were beheaded one after another. The man was utterly terrified and dumbfounded. No matter how hard he tried, he could not believe it. In just an instant, all his men had fallen dead for no clear reason. Nameless hero, come out. I know you're in there. What exactly do you want? Why are you trying to wipe us all out? You're nothing but a devil. Before he could finish, his head flew off. There is only one thing I want, your lives. At this moment, the Black Snake Guild was already littered with corpses, and Dong Bongsu had finally reached that brightly lit manor. The only one left before him was Bang Poyum, the leader of the Black Snake Guild. At first it had been the White Tiger Gang. He killed Zhonghu there and leveled up because of it. But compared to truly powerful opponents, that slight increase was still not enough. To continue growing stronger, Dong Bongsu began using all kinds of tactics. Lure the enemy deep in, strike from behind, and even set fire directly to their camp. By the time the other side realized something was wrong, there was already no road left to retreat. At this point, more than half of the White Tiger Gang had already been slaughtered by him. And during this process, the common people gave his killing a name, the Nameless Hero. This new mask of the Nameless Hero also made it easier for him to clean out the gangs. The moment Dong Bongsu cut down the White Tiger Gang leader, he had already reached level 5, and had obtained 2 new skills, Lightness Skill, and the 3 Forces Sword Art. This finally gave him the strength to suppress gangs head-on. And now, among the gangs left in Phoenix City, only one remained, the Black Snake Guild. In the deepest part of the Black Snake Guild, an old man sat quietly at the entrance of the manor. This man was the Black Snake Guild leader himself, Bang Poyum. A bolt of lightning crashed down, and Dong Bongsu had already fought his way here. So you're the Nameless Hero? Facing Bang Poyum's question, Dong Bongsu did not utter a single word. You don't want to waste words with this old man? Since you call yourself a hero, why wrap yourself so tightly? Are you afraid I'll recognize you? Unfortunately, I'm no hero. I'm just a madman who wants to slaughter. That so-called hero is merely a name those people came up with themselves. Hearing this, Bang Poyum burst out laughing on the spot. So that's it. The great nameless hero they worship is actually a murderer? That's far too interesting. It seems that even if I die here today, I won't regret it. Come, let this old man see just how strong a killer like you really is. With that, he raised his sword and advanced toward Dong Bongsu step by step. At the same time, Dong Bongsu also fully released the killing intent inside his body. The two auras collided head-on in an instant, but after several exchanges, Dong Bongsu gradually fell into a disadvantage. Bang Poyum caught an opening in his defense, and thrust his sword straight at Dong Bongsu's arm. Dong Bongsu had thought the distance was insufficient, but as the sword light swept past, a bloody gash instantly split open across his arm. Blood splattered on the spot. Dong Bongsu immediately retreated and forcibly widened the distance. Just as I thought, your body is in terrible condition right now. That is your greatest mistake. You dare challenge me while already injured? Today I'll make you understand what price arrogance demands. Bang Poyum attacked like a madman, targeting Dong Bongsu's wounds again and again. If this fight keeps going like this, my injuries will only get worse and worse. I have to change tactics immediately. Dong Bongsu was still forcing himself to think of a countermeasure, but Bang Poyum attacked once more, preparing to cripple him completely. Dong Bongsu hurriedly used the 3 Forces Sword Art to block head-on. But in the next instant, the opponent's weapon suddenly came apart and coiled around Dong Bongsu's arm like a venomous snake, directly severing his left hand. Damn it! Dong Bongsu forcibly activated his lightness skill and kicked Bang Poyum in the abdomen, sending him flying on the spot, and smashing violently into the building beside them. Dong Bongsu had just thought he might have a moment to catch his breath, when countless black serpent phantoms suddenly rose from the ground. He stared fixedly at the scene before him in disbelief. What kind of martial technique is this? The next second, a giant void serpent stretched across before him. Bang Poyum slowly spoke, "You truly surprised this old man. Your fighting style is not like a warrior's, but more like an assassin's, like a hunter's. You should remember, when dueling a martial artist, the more trump cards you hide, the longer you live. And now, this old man has more hidden cards than you. That is why you will lose." As he spoke, he swung the giant serpent phantom in his hand. Under this strike, you have nowhere left to go. It's time to end this. Nameless murderous madman, die. The savage serpent phantom hung in midair, like a giant beast looking down on its prey, completely pinning Dong Bongsu in place. The instant it opened its fangs and pounced, Dong Bongsu suddenly drove force into his right foot and stomped heavily on the ground. Dust exploded upward and instantly swallowed the area where he stood. You think using dust to blind this old man's eyes will let you evade my attack? At that moment, a light shone within the dust. Seeing this, Bang Poyum immediately attacked the source of the light with all his might. Finally caught you. But the moment he saw what he had hit, his eyes widened instantly. It was actually the corpse of a Black Snake Guild underling. Damn it, this brat even knows trickery to deceive the eye. Where exactly did his real body go? Meanwhile, Dong Bongsu had already leapt high into the air. The 3 Forces Sword Art, second form, drive straight for the yellow dragon. The sword force plunged from the sky and stabbed straight for Bang Poyam's heart, but Dong Bongsu had not expected that Bang Poyam would catch the strike bare-handed with his palm, causing the sword to veer away from the fatal point. As expected of an old veteran, he could make that kind of judgment in that instant. At this moment, Bang Poyam had gone completely mad. He whipped his sharp weapon around and suddenly reversed the direction of the blade, shooting straight toward Dong Bongsu. Dong Bongsu wanted to retreat, but the sword in his hand was firmly seized by the other party. Left with no choice, he immediately summoned the system space. In front of Bang Poyam, one underling corpse after another suddenly appeared, frightening him into wildly slashing his blade in all directions. Within only a few breaths, he chopped all those bizarre things into pieces. When silence finally returned around them, Bang Poyam barely managed to suppress that agitation inside himself. He suddenly swept his gaze across the surroundings, rapidly searching for Dong Bongsu's figure. But the place was empty, without a single person in sight. "You damned nameless killer, get out here! You lunatic, you won't even spare the dead." Just then, an arrow shot through the air, and Bang Poyam raised his sword to block it. "You despicable thing, don't let me catch you." But in the next second, another arrow brushed past the bridge of his nose from behind. Only then did Bang Poyam realize he was becoming the prey, like a lamb waiting to die. At that moment, a black shadow flashed past in front of him. Bang Poyam lost his reason and, without thinking, lashed out fiercely with his snake whip. "I've finally got you." But when he saw the shadow clearly, he realized it was only a severed arm. In the next instant, Bang Poyam felt a tide of coldness surge up behind him, a grim pressure stabbing into his spine. Immediately after, a sharp blade pierced through his chest. Bang Poyam had never imagined that in the end, the one who would lose was still himself, and that it also meant all the gangs of Phoenix had been completely annihilated. "Before I die, can you tell this old man your reason for doing all this? Does there need to be a reason? Humans are born to slaughter one another. Ever since they were still like apes, up to today, when they built civilization, it has never stopped. Even after coming to this martial world, it is still the weak devouring the weak and the strong reigning supreme. Only this time, the strong one is me. Phoenix's gangs have been cleared out. Now it's time to enter the next stage, to go someplace stronger and harder to hunt." At this moment, deep within distant mountain ranges, stood a powerful sect of the martial world. Inside the main hall, everyone was holding an emergency meeting. The person at the head spoke solemnly. "There are still 2 years until the war between the righteous and demonic factions, so it is about time to activate our plan. Light Cloud, receive the order. This subordinate is here. Carry out the first scheme." The scene shifted, and after wiping out all the gangs, Dong Bongsu was still, as usual, out on the street walking the horse. But at some point, news of the gangs being exterminated had already spread throughout all of Phoenix. "Did you hear? That nameless hero even wiped out the Black Snake gang in one sweep. We shouldn't call him the nameless hero anymore. We should call him a great hero. If not for him, we'd still be getting trampled under those people's feet." But the man in green beside them vaguely felt that something was off. "But even if he is a hero, slaughter on this scale, is it really a good thing? What's wrong with it? That bunch of bastards were complete scum through and through. Whether it's the authorities or the famous righteous sects, none of them have ever cared about poor people like us. In the end, isn't the only one willing to stand up for us the nameless hero?" The man in green thought about it, and had to admit that those words were blunt but true. In times like these, other than the nameless hero, who else would stand up for people like us? "That's right, the nameless hero is our hero." The man excitedly raised both hands and ran onto the street shouting, "Long live the nameless hero." The other two exchanged glances, then also began shouting, "Those bastards from the Black Snake gang got what they deserved. Long live the nameless hero." Very quickly, the surrounding common people were ignited by the emotion, and one after another they poured into the streets, with wave after wave of cheers. Meanwhile, Dong Bongsu walked through the crowd, watching it all with cold eyes. "About time. I should leave." Time quickly passed until evening. Dong Bongsu led the fine horse back to the front of the stable. The system suddenly prompted, "An enemy more than 10 levels higher than you has entered within a 20-meter radius." At that moment, the passive effect of Spirit Eye activated automatically. Dong Bongsu instantly understood. There had to be a powerful expert inside the stable. Pretending to notice nothing, he raised his hand and pushed the door open. But there was more than one person inside. One was Ji Daehyo, the chief of the Black Crow squad who had come before. The other was the head of the Danri family, the flying heavenly demon sword, Danri Cheon-woo. Dong Bongsu did not know why he had appeared here, but he was certain of one thing. The man before him was not someone his current self could afford to provoke. Danri Cheon-woo reached out and stroked the fine horse. "It is also time to part." Dong Bongsu was shocked to discover that Danri Cheon-woo's feet had risen off the ground. This Qinggong?" Danri Cheon-woo continued, "On the 15th of next month, the second daughter of the Namgung family head is to be married. So you plan to offer your beloved horse as a wedding gift? Yes, as long as I can send one of my children into the Namgung family. Even if I have to go further than this, I am willing. Whether it is marrying off a daughter or sending a son there as a disciple, 2 pieces of wood cross a river more easily than one, do they not? But the Namgung family may not accept either one. I know, that is why I called you here. No matter what means you use, this matter must be accomplished. As those words fell, an invisible pressure dropped directly onto Ji Daehyo's shoulders. We leave tomorrow. There is still much to do. Driven into a corner with no room to retreat, Ji Daehyo could only grit his teeth and agree. At this moment, Danri Qianwu looked toward Dong Bongsu, who was kneeling on the ground. Take this fellow along as well. Let him watch over my horse on the journey. There must be no mistake. After saying that, he turned and left. Time quickly moved to the next day, and Dong Bongsu arrived at the gathering place early in the morning to wait. Of course, beside him was the true star of this trip, Danri Qianwu's beloved horse. There was only one thing in Dong Bongsu's mind: to grow stronger. He longed for real martial arts, not just the hollow shells of moves given by the system. He had once tried imitating the movements of family martial artists and gang fighters, but in the end, it was only imitation, never the real thing. The worst plan he could think of was to steal a secret manual and train by himself. The best plan was to find a true master and become his disciple. But becoming someone else's disciple was never easy. What was more, this body was already 18 years old. To begin learning martial arts at this age was practically already too late. But this time, it happened to be an opportunity. The Namgung family was one of the 5 great families of the Central Plains, wielding enormous power, and perhaps there he could find a way to learn martial arts. Moreover, stronger prey was waiting for him there as well. Not long later, Ji Daehyo arrived with his men and completed the assembly. But his subordinate reported that the young master and young lady accompanying them this time had not yet arrived. Danri Hui disliked traveling with servants and would most likely catch up later. As for Danri Ganghae, he was probably still at some inn on Phoenix Street. At this thought, Ji Daehyo swung himself onto his horse and galloped toward Phoenix Street. The large group behind him could only follow helplessly. Soon, they arrived in front of an inn. Just then, a loud crash came from inside. Again, this guy really is a headache. Danri Ganghae was the eldest son of Danri Qianwu. He was shockingly talented, a natural genius at martial arts, but his character was terrible. He was frivolous, fond of wine, and lustful. So his reputation around here had never been very good. Judging from the commotion, he was probably inside fighting at full tilt again. The next second, a figure was blasted out through the inner wall. The moment Ji Daehyo saw clearly who had been sent flying, he was instantly stunned. The person knocked flying was actually Danri Ganghae, the young master of the Danri family. Danri Ganghae fell to the ground and roared at the inn. "You bastard! I'm going to cut you into 1,000 pieces." But before he could finish speaking, a streak of light like electricity flashed past. Ji Daehyo could hardly believe that his family's young master had been beaten like this right before his eyes. Meanwhile, Dong Bongsu was burning with excitement. The mysterious person before him was definitely an expert among experts, and overwhelmingly powerful at that. That expert even stepped on Danri Ganghae's face. Under the horrifying force pressing down, Danri Ganghae's face was visibly deformed beneath the foot. Ji Daehyo flew into a rage on the spot. "You bastard! Stop this at once." But the old man merely swept him a cold glance. "What are you supposed to be?" As the words fell, his aura erupted with a boom. Ji Daehyo felt that pressure and cold sweat instantly broke out all over him. "I advise you to take your foot off him immediately. He is a young master of the Danri family. If you do not move away now, we will have to act." At this moment, the several guards behind him also assumed battle stances at the same time. But Dong Bongsu saw it even more clearly. An expert whom even the chief of the Black Crow squad did not recognize. Meant that this man was not from this area at all. In his perception, even if everyone here attacked together, they still would not be the old man's match. As long as no one courted death, no one would actually die. Because a powerful lion never cares about the ants beneath its feet. Instead, the old man looked puzzled. What is this Danri family thing? Is it edible? With his family publicly humiliated, Ji Daehyo exploded instantly. Anyone who dares insult the Danri family will not be spared. Don't be angry. I truly do not know whether the Danri family is food, or something to be stepped on. Those words completely ignited Ji Daehyo's fury, and he violently drew the long sword at his waist. All members of the Black Crow squad, hear my command. Attack at once and rescue the young master. The next second, the attendants behind him rushed forward with swords raised. But the old man did not even twitch an eyebrow. A strand of green true chi moved along his fingertips. He opened his palm, and a silver needle as fine as a hair, carrying terrifying force, instantly shot through the air, heading straight for Ji Daehyo in the crowd. In the next instant, everyone who had charged forward was struck in the forehead by silver needles, including Ji Daehyo, who was leading them. and they all dropped to the ground, their bodies stiff and unable to move. Even lying on the ground, Ji Daehyo still could not believe it. That strike was like a butterfly that pursued the soul itself. This old man was actually Tang Wu, the soul-chasing poison hand, famed throughout the martial world. One had to know that among the martial world there were 20 top experts. Among them were 2 gods, 3 monsters, 5 peaks, and 10 grandmasters. And the supreme leader of the Sichuan Tang family was one of those 10 grandmasters, the soul-chasing poison hand, Tang Wu. Anyone who offended Tang Wu, even if they died and became a wandering soul, still could not escape his poisonous hand. Watching the Black Crow squad lying all over the ground, Dong Bongsu's heart sank. The Danri family was in serious trouble this time. Just because one idiot had provoked a figure like this, if it was not handled properly, the whole family could be dragged down. But the problem was, how was this going to be resolved now? While Dong Bongsu was still thinking rapidly about how to avoid this disaster, a young girl stepped out from the inn. "Grandfather, let's go. Don't stoop to argue with a bunch of country bumpkins who know no manners." Tang Wu, who had just been overflowing with killing intent, instantly revealed a smile the moment he saw his granddaughter. As you say, this lesson is enough to make them understand how vast heaven truly is. As a successor of a righteous sect, he starts the morning by getting drunk and causing trouble. By this old man's temper, I should not have let him off so lightly. It is only that I could not bear to be too ruthless toward a disciple of the righteous path. When he wakes up, tell him this: if he dares casually harass an innocent young woman again, he will not live to die of old age. Ji Daehyo, lying on the ground, spoke with difficulty. "Many thanks for Senior's mercy." Tang Wu raised a finger and gave a casual wave, and the silver needles embedded in everyone's foreheads were instantly all pulled out, flying back along their paths and landing once more between his fingers. But when he turned to leave, he saw something that should not have appeared here. What caught his eye was Dong Bongsu standing in the distance. At that moment, the two of them met each other's gaze. "Wait here for a moment." After saying this, he walked straight toward Dong Bongsu. The moment he realized the other man's target was actually himself, Dong Bongsu's back tightened, as if he had been locked onto by a hunter. By the time he came back to himself, Tang Wu was already standing in front of him. "Boy, what is your name?" But faced with such a simple question, Dong Bongsu froze. This old man has no patience. "I will ask you one last time. What is your name?" The young woman behind him called out impatiently. "Grandfather, what are you doing?" "Nothing. This old man is only asking this little brat a few questions." Dong Bongsu was stunned by this. Could it be that the original owner of this body had had some dealings with this old man? But unexpectedly, the first thing the other party asked was simply his name. Seeing that Dong Bongsu was still standing there blankly without responding, Tang Wu's expression darkened. "This old man will ask you one last time. What is your name?" But Dong Bongsu still only stared at him straight on, without uttering a single word. "You little thing that still reeks of mother's milk." Tang Wu's anger surged, and he was just about to erupt, when Ji Daehyo immediately stepped forward to explain. "Senior, he is a horsekeeper, and he is also mute." Tang Wu froze when he heard that, then fixed Dong Bongsu with a sharp gaze that pierced over like a blade, and Dong Bongsu felt as if he had been seen through completely. Tang Wu looked at him as if he were looking at something rare. Dong Bongsu's heart jumped. This might be an opportunity, his chance to escape the identity of a horsekeeper. Tang Wu's eyes sharpened, and suddenly he grabbed Dong Bongsu's arm. A stream of green true qi instantly poured into his body and began probing. The next second, Tang Wu suddenly burst out laughing. Dong Bongsu was full of confusion, but Tang Wu gave no explanation at all. He turned to Ji Daehyo and said, "You are headed to the Namgong family, correct?" After a brief exchange, Tang Wu confirmed that Dong Bongsu was merely an insignificant horsekeeper. Tang Wu spoke directly. "I want to take him with me." "That is possible, but without him, no one will be able to safely deliver that fierce horse to the Namgong family." "I see. Then we will travel together. Once we reach the Namgong family, this old man will take the boy away. If necessary, this old man will write a letter to your family head explaining the matter." Hearing this, Ji Daehyo had wanted to weigh it a bit more, but when his eyes met Tang Wu's gaze that looked ready to kill, he immediately changed his words. "We had originally intended to present both him and that prized horse together to the Namgong family. Since Senior Tang has taken a liking to him, then we will do as Senior wishes." Tang Wu nodded in satisfaction and stepped forward. "What are you still standing around for? Set out at once." Ji Daehyo only felt a headache coming on. The situation had completely slipped out of his control. Left with no choice, he ordered the servants to carry Danri Ganghae away for treatment. The others immediately set out for the Namgong family. The scene shifts, and night falls. The large party arrived in grand procession before another inn. "We'll rest here tonight and continue the journey tomorrow." Everyone ate, drank, and recovered inside the inn, while Dong Bongsu alone could only go to the stable to watch the horse. Ever since that battle with the gangs, Dong Bongsu had clearly become much more skilled in using the storage space. After repeated testing, he discovered that it had even more uses. He could take things out of the space, and he could also eject things from it. It was just that the ejection speed was not very fast, and most skilled fighters could react to it. Thinking this, Dong Bongsu casually grabbed a handful of sand and slowly let it fall through his fingers. Just as the sand was about to hit the ground, he immediately opened the system space and stored all of it inside. This phenomenon immediately made Dong Bongsu think of another possibility. He at once continued experimenting, and swallowed that handful of sand whole. But the instant the sand entered his stomach, he stored all of it into the system space again. That meant, anything that entered his body could be stored away. This was practically a martial art unique to him alone. So he gave it a name, Inventory Space Divine Art. At that moment, Tang Wu's granddaughter came here. "Come with me, my grandfather is looking for you." And so, under everyone's gaze, she led Dong Bongsu into Tang Wu's room. In the center of the room, Tang Wu sat quietly. When he saw them enter, he spoke directly. "Get on the bed and sit cross-legged." Dong Bongsu did not dare resist and walked straight over. He sat down as instructed, then took off his outer robe. Tang Wu looked at Dong Bongsu's body and was clearly very satisfied. "Very good. Your physique is even better than I expected." As he spoke, he took a wooden box from his robes. The moment the young woman saw the box, her expression changed immediately. "Grandfather, why are you taking out the Dragon Phoenix golden needles? Don't tell me you intend to." Tang Wu set the wooden box on the floor. Then he said to Dong Bongsu, "Have you ever heard the saying that the same tree can bear different fruit depending on where it grows? In good ground, it grows sweet. In harsh ground, it grows bitter. A man is no different. Change the place, and you change his fate. The Danri clan was one soil. The Tang clan is another. In the Danri family, you're just a nobody. But in the Tang family, I can make you someone who truly matters. These are the Dragon Phoenix golden needles. I will use them to perform the golden needle great art on you. The process will be extremely painful, so painful that you may faint on the spot. But if you endure it, I can remake you completely. Even your muteness, I can cure together with it. Are you willing to gamble once?" Hearing this, the granddaughter immediately stepped forward to dissuade him. "Grandfather, for something this important, shouldn't you first get the approval of the Council of Elders?" Tang Wu merely glanced at his granddaughter, then slowly revealed a smile. "Is that so? Then, child, are you ready? Take on the Tang surname, and from this moment onward, your life will change." There are many terms in the martial world for extraordinary talent, such as Heavenly Meridian Body, Cyclic Sacred Emperor Aspect, 9th Grade Sacred Bones, Heavenly Martial Heart Veins, and Cosmic Sacred Bones. These aptitudes alone are enough to make one famous in the Murim from birth. And they are often paired with titles like Once in 100 Years, Once in 1,000 Years, or even Once in 10,000 Years. But above all of them, there exists an even more supreme possibility, and Dong Bongsu happened to pick it up as casually as if picking up a stone. Compared with it, all those talents just mentioned are not worth mentioning at all. Who could have imagined that a mere horsekeeper would possess a miraculous body never before seen in the history of the martial world? The strongest aptitude that exists only in theory, the body without acupoints. If a person has no acupoints at all, that means true chi is not bound by any fixed pathways, and it can carve roads according to one's will, if trained properly. It might even make the lost for a century rain of flowers filling the sky reappear. When that day comes, the Tang family alone could force the entire martial world to bow its head. Holding the future of the Tang family in his hands, Tang Wu could not suppress the upward curl of his lips. "I'll ask you again, is he willing to bear the Tang surname, and from now on become one of the Tang clan?" Dong Bongsu looked at him seriously, then gave a slight nod. "Very good. Then I will first open your ran and do meridians." The granddaughter was helpless to the extreme, since she could not persuade her grandfather. She could only unwillingly go outside to stand guard. At this moment, all the Dragon Phoenix golden needles in the wooden box had already flown out. Tang Wu released his true chi outward, wrapped all the golden needles with true chi, and aimed every one of them at Dong Bongsu. "Prepare yourself. Begin." With that, he slowly inserted the first golden needle into the crown of Dong Bongsu's head. Everything changed completely from that moment on. But what Tang Wu did not know was that when he and his granddaughter had spoken by voice transmission earlier, they thought Dong Bongsu could not hear them, never expecting that there existed in this world a skill called lip reading. It was a trick he had learned in his previous life for hunting prey, and he had never expected it to come in handy today. A body without acupoints? How could I possibly have been born with something like that? It's probably because of the system, which turned me into a strange body halfway between human and player. Now that things have been pushed this far, I'll cooperate with Tang Wu and play this act to the end. By the time Tang Wu inserted the last Dragon Phoenix golden needle, Dong Bongsu's entire body was already covered in golden needles. Looking at his handiwork, Tang Wu sighed in a low voice. What a peerless body. Although the meridian network is only temporarily constructed, the circulation of qi and blood meets no obstruction at all. In fact, it is several times faster than that of an ordinary martial artist, a rarity not seen in 1,000 ages. It's just that. Tang Wu raised his hand and used true qi to draw over the wooden box behind him. At the bottom of the box lay the corpses of poisonous insects, and only one deadly centipede was still crawling on top. Precisely because it is so precious, it must never fall into someone else's hands. To be safe, I must place a gu inside him. A gu is a poisonous insect raised by the secret methods of the Tang family of Sichuan. It lurks within the body, and when not activated, gives no sign at all. If I cannot have him, then I should destroy him. No one else will be allowed to possess him. One night passed quickly. Tang Wu finally finished his work. From this day on, you are no longer a stable hand of the Danri family, but a member of the Tang sect, the foremost family of Sichuan. As for your name, it shall be Tang Sam. Thank you for bestowing the name. This was the first time Dong Bongsu spoke after regaining his voice. From an angle Tang Wu could not see. The corners of his lips slowly lifted into a cold smile. After putting his clothes back on, Dong Bongsu directly pushed open the door and left. Tang Wu would never have imagined that the gu insect he planted had been stored in the system space the instant it entered Dong Bongsu's body. You want to use that thing to control my life? Dream on. From this day forward, so some of the Danri family no longer exists. In his place stands Tang Sam of the Sichuan Tang sect. This is the starting point of my entry into the martial world. After traveling day and night without pause, Dong Bongsu finally reached the end of the journey with the grand procession. I didn't expect we'd arrive even earlier than planned. Now dressed in new clothes, Dong Bongsu looked at the scene before him. This was Anhui, dominated and ruled by the Namgong family. And deep in the mountains near Anhui, the silent night was suddenly torn apart by a shadow that appeared out of nowhere. A black-clothed man on the ceiling drew the long sword from his back. The woman below sensed something strange, and let out a terrified scream. The gray-haired man pressing on top of her reacted instantly, barely avoiding the ambush and grabbing the clothes from the floor in the same motion. In the span of a lightning flash, he put on his clothes and steadied himself. Yet instead of looking first at the assassin, the gray-haired man glared at his own soiled clothes and cursed coldly. You bastard. These clothes were expensive. Speak. Who exactly are you? The man in black stared at him in silence. Then he activated a martial technique, and black chi coiled around the sword blade. The next second, the man in black thrust his sword straight at the gray-haired man. Since you won't speak, then I'll beat it out of you. As the words fell, the attacks of the two men collided head-on. At the same time, the gray-haired man also gauged the other's weight. What the hell, this weak, and you still dared come assassinate me? He immediately drew another long sword as well, and brought down a heavy slash with it. The man in black dodged swiftly and immediately retreated. You think you can come and still run away? Stay right here. The next second, the gray-haired man unleashed a dense rain of sword light straight at the man in black. The black-clothed man still did not panic. The black chi wrapping his blade grew even stronger, and at that moment the gray-haired man finally saw through his style. Under the black chi's shroud, the black sword of the man in black moved like a ghostly specter, instantly dispersing all the sword light. The gray-haired man's gaze sank as he fully confirmed it. Ing-like killing sword. So it really is you, Mad Cloud. It's been 10 years, hasn't it? 9 years and 220 days. The gray-haired man burst into laughter on the spot. You're still the same Mad Cloud, remembering even trivial things this clearly. Go on, what kind of matter is worth one of the 18 clouds making a personal trip? Ash Shadow, I have come to deliver our Lord's command. Carry out the first scheme. Ash Shadow's breathing instantly became rapid. So it's finally time to move? Where's that guy Shifting Shadow? At the Namgung family. On the 15th of this month, it is Shifting Shadow's wedding day. A wedding? Are you joking? Don't tell me Shifting Shadow is? If that's really the case, then what is the purge radius? Other than Shifting Shadow and Namgong High, kill everyone else without exception. I received word that Tang Wu, the soul-chasing poison hand, will also be arriving in Anhui soon. With the forces on this side, I'm afraid we won't be able to stop him. It doesn't matter. When the time comes, 5 shadows will go there to hold him back. Is that so? Then that will be enough. After delivering the order, Mad Cloud turned to leave, but was stopped by Ash Shadow. Oh, right. What was Shifting Shadow's real name again? Mad Cloud looked at him speechlessly, then dissolved into ink and vanished without a trace. Whether in the past or now, your irritating personality hasn't changed at all. Shifting Shadow really is enviable. I used to think something like a shadow was destined to die in loneliness. But he actually became one of the so-called righteous, and now he's going to marry the greatest beauty in Anhui. And I can only stay in a cold place like this, rotting away day after day. With suppressed emotions, Ash Shadow walked out of the room. With a snap of his fingers, a subordinate instantly appeared behind him. Clean up the room. Also, Kill every one of those on guard duty today. Yes, division leader. It turned out that Ash Shadow was the division leader of the Manhwa branch of the heavenly demon divine cult. He was known as the Silvernet Lust Demon, Broken Shackles Blood, codename Ash Shadow. Now, the true curtain of the martial world had only just begun to rise. Just as the Namgung family's grand wedding day was approaching, the streets and alleys of Manhwa were filled with a festive atmosphere. Everyone was busy preparing for this grand celebration. Please, I beg you, just give me a bite to eat. Faced with the beggars pleading, the guard was utterly merciless. You filthy beggars, get the hell out of here. The beggar kept pestering them and refused to leave, so the guard raised his foot and kicked, sending him flying brutally. The commotion here also drew people out from the residence. What's going on outside? Someone tell me. Young master, it's nothing, just a group of beggars refusing to leave. A passerby nearby immediately recognized him. That is the star of today's banquet, Du Hyuk, truly imposing in bearing. Du Hyuk walked over to the beggar. He reached out his hand and smiled gently. Are you alright? After comforting the beggar a few times, he turned and instructed the servants, give them some food. There are still a few days before the wedding, and there will be leftovers anyway. With that, he turned and walked through the main gate. As expected, just like the rumors say, Du Hyuk is not only powerful in martial arts, but also upright as a person. No wonder the young lady of the Namgung family likes him. I heard he roamed the Jianghu alone, and in the end even the Yin-Yang twin demons were defeated by him. Who would have thought that a young wandering swordsman could defeat devilish figures who had run rampant through the martial world for decades? And in the end he even became the Namgung family's future son-in-law. There are even rumors that he has mastered the ultimate art of the Thunderblade Emperor from 300 years ago. There are even rumors that he has mastered the ultimate art of the Thunderblade Emperor from 300 years ago. As he was speaking, the passerby next to him suddenly bumped into him, and he immediately flared up. Which bastard was that? Don't you watch where you're going? But when he saw clearly who had bumped into him, his tongue nearly tied itself in fear. Tang Wu, the soul-chasing poison hand. Tang Wu grabbed the man's face in one hand, then flung him backward over his shoulder. You worthless thing, get out of the way. This place is full of useless trash. And behind Tang Wu, a large group of people strode grandly down the street. At this moment, Du Hyuk was inside entertaining guests. But the commotion outside once again drew away his attention. Everybody get your asses out here. I came all this way, and no one came out to receive me? At this time, Du Hyuk had also already come out. Hero Tang, please calm your anger. I am Du Hyuk. Oh, so you're the one who invited me here. Not bad, but only that. If I had met you some years earlier, this old man might have been a little interested. But now it's too late. My standards have long since risen. As he spoke, he lifted his foot and walked straight into the grand residence. The moment Du Hyuk saw this, he hurried after him. Hero Tang, I will take you to the Imperial Hall at once. Looking at this unfamiliar face, Dong Bongsu suddenly froze. For the man before him gave him a strangely familiar feeling. System notification. An enemy more than 10 levels above you has entered within a 20-meter range. Staring at the system prompt, Dong Bongsu immediately confirmed it was the man before him. That meant this person was extremely powerful, so powerful that the current Dong Bongsu could not handle him at all. Most people's bodies are uneven in one way or another, but this guy was perfect in an abnormal way. Dong Bongsu smelled the scent of the same kind on him. He had hidden his body by another method. Like Dong Bongsu, this man was a predator. The scene shifted to the Namgung family's largest Imperial Hall. On the roof of the Imperial Hall was a row of treasured swords planted in place. They were the swords of successive family heads. No matter whether one is a supreme ruler or an emperor, one day all must die. After a few more years, they will be completely forgotten by the world. Tang Wu lamented the ruthlessness of time as he climbed the steps toward the Imperial Hall. When Tang Wu reached the entrance of the hall, he saw that familiar figure inside. The old man in the hall was the head of the Namgung family, and the woman beside him was the female lead of this grand wedding, Namgung Hai. Uncle Tang, it really has been a long time since we last met, hasn't it? You, the dignified head of the Namgung family, are still busy to such an unsightly extent, honestly. Forget it, I won't talk about you this time. You're still the same as ever. From afar, the granddaughter looked utterly astonished, never having expected that her grandfather and the head of the Namgung family were so familiar with each other. And Namgung Hai also noticed Tang Wu's granddaughter. Isn't that Tanghua? Long time no see. Elder sister Hai has grown even prettier. At this time Du Hyuk also walked over. I forgot to greet you properly just now. I am Du Hyuk. It is a pleasure to meet you. My name is Tanghua. So does that mean I should call you brother-in-law? Namgung Hai was so embarrassed she did not know what to do, when she suddenly noticed there was still a stranger in the hall. Tanghua, who is that? Him? His name is Tang Sam. Seeing several people look over, Dong Bongsu stepped forward with a smile. Unexpectedly, Du Hyuk greeted him first. So you're Tang Sam, right? Very glad to meet you. Dong Bongsu clearly felt how dangerous the other man was. But in a setting like this, he had to show enough courtesy. By the way, tonight I plan to go on a night cruise on the little lake with Namgung Hai. Would you like to come along? Of course. Thanks, Sam. You too. Not long afterward, Do Hyuk led the group aboard a pleasure boat on the lake. It was Tang Hwa's first time seeing this lake view, and she was so excited she could hardly stop herself. After all, this lake was already famous for its scenery. Especially at night, its beauty was rarely seen in the world. Namgung Hai and Tang Hwa chatted while enjoying the view. Do Hyuk, meanwhile, brought Dong Bongsu to the other side. We can't get a word in on women's topics. We men should go have a drink. What do you say? I'll go bring out some good liquor. With that, he headed toward the cabin. On the surface, this guy is the Namgung family's future son-in-law, but underneath he's like a predator hiding its fangs. I know people like that too well. He must be plotting something big. The only questions left are the time and the place. Dong Bongsu vaguely felt that he was being drawn into a huge but invisible conspiracy. System notification. An enemy more than 10 levels above you has entered within a 20-meter range. Did Do Hyuk trigger it when he just entered the cabin? No. There's another expert on this ship. Following the distance bit by bit, Dong Bongsu discovered the target was on the lower deck beneath the boat. In other words, besides Do Hyuk, there was another enemy hiding here. Sorry, I couldn't remember where I put the liquor for a moment, so I was delayed a little. This is the strongest bottle in my collection. I hope you like it. But Dong Bongsu was in no mood to drink at all right now, so he could only make an excuse. Sorry, I'm not feeling very well. I'll go rest first. With that, he headed toward the cabin. Dong Bongsu's unusual behavior seemed to arouse Do Hyuk's suspicion. When Dong Bongsu reached the cabin door, system notification, an enemy more than 10 levels above you has entered within an 11-meter range. What's going on? I'm clearly increasing the distance, so why is it getting closer instead? The moment Dong Bongsu stepped into the cabin, the distance continued to shrink, until it shrank to 1 meter, which meant the enemy was in the compartment directly beneath his feet. Using this positioning, Dong Bongsu locked onto a total of 4 experts. Adding Do Hyuk made 5. 5 enemies at least 10 levels above me, all on the ship. If they wanted to kidnap Namgung Hai, they should have already made their move. Since they haven't, their target is very likely the entire Namgung family Chong. The system only says there are more than 10 levels above me, but whether there are 20 levels or 30 levels above me, I have no way of knowing. People of this level sneaking into the Namgung family would be enough to trigger a disaster. With Tang Hwa beside me, he will never let me get away easily. And ahead of me is a group of powerful enemies lurking in the dark. Right now, I can neither advance nor retreat. What exactly am I supposed to choose? The scene shifted, and here the Namgung family's guard unit was conducting a tight patrol. Several guards arrived at the entrance to a waterway. Captain Go Sanggong, do we really have to go in? Even checking the waterway? Aren't we going a bit overboard? As soon as the captain heard that, his face immediately darkened, and he said impatiently, You brat, you dare talk back too? Is it really that hard to make a round through the waterway while we're at it? The wedding is right in front of us. If anything really happens, none of us can bear the responsibility. As he finished speaking, he grabbed the man and threw him straight into the waterway entrance. The others could only brace themselves, light candles, and slowly walk inside. Captain Go Sanggong, meanwhile, stayed at the entrance and waited in boredom. How boring. It'd be nice if an enemy actually came. It's black as pitch, and we can only walk by relying on that little bit of candlelight. Why is it that everyone else is outside eating and drinking while we have to suffer in a hellhole like this? Just then, Dong Bongsu suddenly appeared in front of him, and with one breath, casually blew out the candle in his hand. In the dark waterway, the 3 of them were like sheep awaiting slaughter, with only the sounds of blood spraying and shrill screams tangling together, then suddenly cutting off. The next second, the screaming erupted once more. Immediately afterward came a burst of hurried splashing footsteps. At last, a flash of sword light, and the waterway returned to a deathly darkness. Outside the door, Captain Go Sanggong grew more and more impatient as he waited. What the hell is going on? You've been in there this long and still aren't coming out? If I catch you slacking off in there, just you wait. But the moment he went deeper into the waterway, he saw a severed arm floating on the surface of the water. He recognized it at a glance. It was his companion's arm. Captain Go Sanggong was so horrified that he turned and ran on the spot. In his panic, he saw a faint glimmer of light at the corner ahead. But when he moved closer, what he saw was an even more terrifying scene. Strange, where did I put the other arm? The guards who had just gone into patrol had already been torn into pieces. You came at just the right time. I'm missing an arm. At the sight of this bloody scene, Captain Go Sanggong trembled with rage and charged at Dong Bongsu with sword raised. After just a few exchanges, Dong Bongsu immediately realized he had judged wrong. This patrol captain was far stronger than he had imagined. Aren't you the one who came with Tang Hwa? You're a guest, so why are you doing this? After 2 seconds of silence, Dong Bongsu said something even he himself did not believe. "I can't help it. I'm doing this for your Namgang family too." The moment those words left his mouth, Captain Go Sangong exploded with fury. "Madman, you killed my men and played with their corpses like toys, and you're telling me this is for the Namgang family? I'll carve you up slice by slice before my hatred is satisfied." Heavenly Wind Sword Art. First form, Swift Wind Flowing Clouds. The Three Forces Sword Art. Second form, Strike straight at the Yellow Dragon. The next second, the martial techniques of the two men collided head-on. Dong Bongsu had not expected the other's power to be even fiercer, and he was blasted away on the spot. "You filthy bastard. I'll tear you to pieces." Captain Go Sangong swung out several arcs of sword light in succession, all rushing at Dong Bongsu. At this moment, Dong Bongsu could not dodge at all. The sharp sword light swept across his whole body, and he was sent flying heavily once again. At this point, Dong Bongsu's health bar was down to only a quarter. If he did not think of something, he really would die here. Just then, Captain Go Sangong charged again with sword in hand, and with one sweeping slash, directly cut off the fingers of the hand with which Dong Bongsu was holding his sword. "Your sword's fallen. How are you going to resist now?" But in the next second, a streak of sword light slashed back at him, barely grazing Captain Go Sangong's cheek. This sudden strike had almost taken his life. "What's going on? The sword already left your hand, so what kind of evil trick was that sword like just now?" At this moment, Dong Bongsu's right hand was once again gripping the longsword, but in the instant he closed in, the longsword had already switched to his left hand. Captain Go Sangong had just started to raise his sword to block, when the sweeping sword suddenly vanished. His strike missed empty air, and his balance instantly collapsed. Before he could even understand what kind of method this was, Dong Bongsu lashed out with a fierce kick, sending him flying straight out of the waterway. While Captain Go Sangong was still tumbling through the air, Dong Bongsu's sword light chased after him again. Just one more advance, and he could finish him off directly. But Dong Bongsu had also reached his limit, and his whole body fell stiffly to the ground. "Looks like that last move worked. That scared the hell out of me. I almost really died." Dong Bongsu struggled to prop himself up. There were too many wounds, and his health bar was almost completely empty.
The only good news was that his experience bar was nearly full.
"I can only use that method now." Gritting his teeth, he raised his sword and charged forward again. "You're injured this badly and you still dare keep forcing yourself? I'll send you on your way." Heavenly Wind Sword Art. Final form, Heavenly Wind Splits the Sky. Captain Go Sangong brought his sword down, and a massive arc of sword light crushed down toward Dong Bongsu. "Even if you want to die together with me, I won't give you the chance." Dong Bongsu kept weaving through the terrifying sword light. "As long as I avoid these arcs of sword light, I can." But in the next second, 2 streaks of sword light struck in ambush and directly severed both of Dong Bongsu's arms, leaving him completely unable to fight. "Idiot, without even weighing how capable you are, you still dared challenge me. This ends now." But at that exact moment, Dong Bongsu revealed a bizarre smile. "You fell for it." He opened his mouth, and a dazzling streak of sword light shot out from it, firing straight at Captain Go Sangong. This sudden attack was impossible to dodge, and it pierced straight through his head. The level-up notification sounded, and a huge burst of light exploded from Dong Bongsu's body, instantly illuminating the entire area. Everyone deep within and we saw that strange pillar of light. Who the hell caused that thing? After Dong Bongsu placed the final arm in position, his perfect artwork in the waterway was finally complete. Meanwhile, a brutal tragedy was unfolding in the Danri family. Countless black-clothed figures stormed in, leaving not a single living thing alive. Danri Cheonwoo stared blankly at this living hell, and the will supporting him collapsed with a crash as despair instantly swallowed him. At that moment, a black shadow killed its way to his front. That man was the leader of this raid, Mad Cloud. "What exactly did our Danri family do wrong? Why are you doing this?" Before he could finish speaking, Mad Cloud slashed down with his sword, directly chopping off half his head. "Being weak is your crime. Send word to Ash Shadow. The Danri family has been exterminated, and the plan may begin very soon." The messenger arrived at Ash Shadow's side. "Looks like Bad Cloud's side has already wrapped up. That brat really doesn't know how to enjoy himself. Still, that beam of light at the Namgang family just now, what exactly was that?" Shifting Shadow shouldn't use such a flashy method to send a message. Could it be that the Namgang family has discovered the plan? Thinking this, Ash Shadow immediately gave the order to seal off all routes leading to Anhui at once. The first scheme had begun. Meanwhile, the Namgang family also discovered what Dong Bongsu had left in the waterway. Written on the wall in blood were the words, "When the moon is full, the emperor falls, an outsider shall take the throne." Even the head of the Namgang family was alarmed by this bloody scene. Family head, what kind of madman could have done something like this? Who did it is not important, but one thing is very clear, the Namgang family has been targeted. With the wedding date so close, for something like this to happen is truly troublesome. Immediately send more men and investigate all suspicious individuals. After saying that, the family head left that bloody place alone. Emperor most likely refers to the Namgung family. Full moon refers to the wedding on the full moon day. Then who exactly is this outsider? Whoever you are, I will drag you out. The scene shifted back to the Namgung family's imperial hall. At this moment, the upper ranks inside the hall were holding an emergency meeting. I said long ago that this was definitely a frame-up. Just because of that line of blood writing on the wall, you're going to suspect Du Hyuk? He is about to become the Namgung family's son-in-law. If word of this gets out, the whole world will laugh the Namgung family to death. Hall Master Jang, your words are biased. What we should be focusing on now are the words left behind by the intruder. Anyone who sees outsider will think of Du Hyuk. The fact that the other party could sneak in, openly kill the patrol guards, and even deliberately leave behind such an obvious indication, shows that he was not here to scout at all. All of you saw that pillar of light last night too, did you not? Why do you think he would send such a flamboyant signal and then vanish like a ghost? And because of words left by some unknown person, you want to arrest our future son-in-law? If it turns out in the end to be a false accusation, will the Namgung family have any face left at all? The two argued more and more fiercely, and the pressure inside the hall grew heavier and heavier. You both make valid points. That is why the family head has already sent out the Celestial Thunder Unit leader and the Heavenly Wind Unit leader to investigate. If someone truly intends to strike at the Namgung family on the full moon day, then signs of it should already be beginning to show. Just then, a man rushed hurriedly into the hall. The one who had arrived was Namgung Hu, the Celestial Thunder Unit leader who had gone out to investigate. Family head, urgent report. The Celestial Thunder Unit sent out to investigate has been completely annihilated. The hall instantly exploded in uproar. How is that possible? They had clearly agreed to return within the time it takes one incense stick to burn, yet not a single one came back. Why do you think this happened to them? Namgung Hu fell silent for a long while. In the end, he voiced a guess so absurd that even he himself found it hard to believe. The Namgung family seemed to have been surrounded. The moment those words were spoken, everyone found it even harder to accept. Could it be the 18 Yangtze River water forts who controlled the waterways? But we already have an agreement with them not to violate each other by water. So what you mean is, the routes leading inland have been sealed off? But within and what force could possibly surround the Namgang family? That guess is far too ridiculous. No, you've missed one. The only force in the martial world capable of surrounding the Namgung family is Heavenly Demonic Castle. Time moved to the next day, and Dong Bongsu began his own cultivation. After repeated attempts, he finally condensed the true chi within his body, not the kind from system skills. At that moment, he felt a strange power, as though a stream of energy were slowly flowing through his body. In his mind, the desperate battle from last night replayed over and over. That was the will forced out at the edge of life and death, and also the moment he had seen through the other man's moves. Every attack the other had directed at Dong Bongsu replayed again and again in his mind, and he broke down and swallowed all the experience of that night. If at that time he had used the first form of the Heavenly Wind sword art, I would definitely have died then. From a certain point of view, martial arts were even more like cheating than game skills. As long as you could control the path of true chi through the major acupoints, release it instantly in battle, then use your technique to forge true chi into a blade, with one swing of the sword. That power could directly devour the enemy. He rehearsed it again and again in his mind, and Dong Bongsu finally no longer had to rely on the inventory space divine art, but instead used his own strength to recreate the victory of that night. I succeeded. Tang Wu's modified method really is incredible. Just reviewing the battle is enough to produce this kind of insight. Although the acupoints are temporary, as long as I remember them in my body and train them into instinct, it won't be long before I truly master martial arts. At this moment, Dong Bongsu's level rose to level 13, unlocking his first-class advancement mission. First advancement mission, Ronin. Tester exclusive class mission. Completion condition, hunt 100 enemies above level 10. Seeing the prompt, even Dong Bongsu was stunned. So even in this martial world, I can change classes. Hunt 100 enemies above level 10. That's probably around the level of those patrol guards from last night. Captain Go Sangong was probably around level 15. I thought I had become stronger, but now it seems this road has only just begun. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupted from a large building not far behind him. And just 10 minutes earlier, Du Hyuk had come to inspect the waterway entrance where Dong Bongsu had fought last night. But the place had already been mostly cleaned up by the servants, so there was nothing left to investigate. He could only return in frustration. Ever since that pillar of light appeared, security has been tightened layer by layer. There are also a lot more martial artists on the streets now, so I have to get word to the shadows as soon as possible. But at that moment, Namgungin blocked his path with a group of subordinates. Young Master Du, where are you in such a hurry to go? Du Hyuk's heart jolted, because as a hall master, Namgungin should not have appeared at this time. No matter what, I need to bluff my way past him first. I heard the wedding procession would pass by here, so I came over to take a look on the way. Is that so? Then now that you've looked, do you think it is auspicious, or ominous? That sentence instantly put Du Hyuk on guard. He looked at the group of subordinates behind Namgungin, and every one of them seemed ready to strike at any moment. So Du Hyuk immediately understood, he had been exposed. Since the confirmation is done, come with us to the Imperial Hall. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. The family head personally named you. Since Du Hyuk already knew his cover was blown, how could he possibly go obediently? I rather liked this shell. I didn't expect it to be exposed so quickly. Du Hyuk's aura changed, and Namgungin immediately reached for his sword. But at that very moment, the building behind them suddenly exploded, and everyone's attention was violently dragged away. What happened? That's the direction of the Imperial Hall. And in that instant, dazzling golden light flared behind Namgungin. Lightning coiled all around Du Hyuk as he walked forward step by step. Lightning Doward, first form, lightning advance support. In the next second, a bolt of lightning crashed into the crowd ahead. After a single strike, the entire cluster of buildings was blasted into ruins. The huge noise alarmed the surrounding townspeople. What happened? Who did that? Isn't that young Master Du? Why would he do such a thing? As the dust and smoke scattered, out of what had once been a group of dozens, only one person remained alive. Even if it was a sneak attack, I still can't believe it. My men were wiped out by him in a single blow. How could he possibly be this strong? At that moment, a figure rushed out from the crowd. It was the gate guard who had been closest to Du Hyuk. Young Master Du, what are you doing? Please, stop at once. But in the next second, that guard was mercilessly cut down. In Du Hyuk's eyes, these people were nothing but insects. Their so-called friendship had merely been an act. Witnessing this scene, the others completely broke down and turned to flee. Young Master Du has gone mad. Run. I've been pretending for so long I was almost suffocating. As expected, killing whenever I feel like it is the real pleasure. Bastard, who exactly are you? You want to know? Go ask the King of Hell. As the words fell, he activated the lightning Doward, and like a flash of lightning, thrust a sword straight at Namgungin. Faced with that fatal strike, nothing but despair remained in Namgungin's eyes. But at the very instant the sword tip was about to hit, a dragon phoenix golden needle nailed itself into the back of Du Hyuk's hand, and a pair of feet stepped firmly onto his sword blade. Boy, do you know what you're doing? And at this moment, Dong Bongsu was right next door, seeing everything clearly. As expected, just as I guessed, everything he showed before was just a disguise. Damn, the soul-chasing poison hand actually arrived this quickly. The next second, two forces collided head-on and exploded into a terrifying shockwave. After the dust settled, even the Dragon Phoenix golden needle that had just pierced Du Hyuk's arm had been shaken out. Having narrowly escaped death, Namgungin immediately thanked him with a trembling voice. The martial world today is becoming more and more ruthless. I never thought even a son-in-law would dare lay hands on his father-in-law. A strange curve rose at the corner of Du Hyuk's mouth. In the martial world, the less feeling you have, the longer you live. As they were speaking, another explosion came from the direction of the Imperial Hall. I don't have time to waste on you. While you can still speak, tell me your identity and your scheme without leaving out a single word. I've long heard of the soul-chasing poison hand's divine hidden weapon art. I truly want to experience it in person right here. But, the moment Dong Bongsu heard this, he immediately realized he was going to run. And from the very beginning, Dong Bongsu had felt that Du Hyuk's movements were strange, as if he were searching for something. Just then, Tanghua unexpectedly appeared in front of Dong Bongsu. What happened to grandfather? Why did he suddenly run over here? Dong Bongsu's heart sank. She was the thing Du Hyuk had been looking for. The moment Du Hyuk saw Tanghua, his eyes lit up with a burning brilliance, and the power of lightning suddenly erupted. Tang Wu, however, remained calm. In front of me, any move you make is simply courting death. But the true target Du Hyuk had locked onto was not Tang Wu at all. Dong Bongsu instantly threw himself toward Tanghua. At the same time, Tang Wu controlled the Dragon Phoenix golden needles and shot them out at high speed. But Du Hyuk had already swung up his longsword and hurled it with all his might. Tang Wu froze. You threw away your sword in the middle of a fight? Are you surrendering? But when he saw clearly the direction the longsword was flying, it was already too late to stop it. Damn it! Tanghua, dodge! At the critical moment, Dong Bongsu tackled Tanghua to the ground and covered her with his body. In the next second, the entire area exploded with a thunderous blast. When the smoke and dust cleared, only a massive crater remained at the center of the explosion. Seeing this, regret surged through Tang Wu, but he was then shocked to discover, not far away, Dong Bongsu was standing there holding Tanghua, completely intact. There were only some superficial injuries, but no danger to his life. After Tang Wu took his granddaughter back, he actually said to Dong Bongsu in a low voice. Tang Sam, this time, thank you. At that moment, Du Hyuk's mocking laughter came again from afar. Your granddaughter is quite lucky to have actually avoided that strike of mine just now. Then, Hero Tang. Another day, Du Hyuk will pay you a visit again. With that, he turned to leave. But at that exact moment, a piercing chill suddenly pressed down. And the source of that chill was the figure who had just saved Tang Hua. Dong Bongsu had finally found the true prey he wanted to hunt after crossing over, and his entire being fell into extreme excitement. When Du Hyuk saw Dong Bongsu's expression clearly, it was as if he had suddenly remembered something. So it was you, that pillar of light last night, and the exposure of my identity? That was all you're doing, wasn't it? I'll remember you. Until next time. As the words fell, his figure flashed and rapidly withdrew. Boy, do you think you can escape in front of this old man? Tang Wu was just about to give chase, when Tang Wu woke up in his arms. For Tang Wu's safety, Tang Wu could only force himself to stop. You got the better of me. The scene shifted, and it was already evening. While the Imperial Hall had long since been reduced to ruin, after suffering heavy casualties, they finally managed to kill the attackers. I truly never imagined that just 4 men could reduce the Imperial Hall to this state. And that fellow, wasn't he one of the yin-yang twin demons whom Du Hyuk once killed? It seems from the very beginning, we were being manipulated. Even the carrier pigeons sent to the Martial Alliance were all intercepted and killed by hawks that came from who knows where. Even the sect-protecting Grand Formation was destroyed in the explosion. As for us now, we've become turtles trapped in a jar. Dragging his wounded body, Namgungan stepped forward. Family head, at present they only have 3 paths left. Fight to the death, break through and flee, or request reinforcements. We both know the first 2 won't work. Tell me about the third. For reinforcements, we can only send someone to deliver intelligence to the Martial Alliance. Traveling at full speed from here would take at least a week. And to break through the enemy's blockade, right now only one person can do it. The soul-chasing poison hand Tang Wu, whose movement technique is unmatched. Uncle Tang? Even for him, breaking through alone against that many enemies would be too much. Namgungan was silent for a moment before speaking in a low voice. We can make use of the several hundred guests who are still inside the family grounds, and who are anxious to leave, to resolve the life-or-death crisis facing the Namgang family. The Namgang family head urgently met with the strongest among them. Tang Wu, Uncle Tang, the child behind you is? Don't worry. He has already inherited my Tang clan surname and can be trusted. Say whatever you need to say directly. The Namgang family head remained silent for a long time, then finally made up his mind. Please help us once. Uncle Tang, escort the honored guests to Soho Lake and request reinforcements. Have you thought this through? Once this old man leaves, most of the people here will die. But looking at the expression on the Namgang family head's face, Tang Wu knew he had already made his choice. If we go by boat from Soho Lake to the Yangtze River, we can obtain support from the 18 Yangtze River fortresses. We have already gathered the boats and assembled the honored guests and attendants at the South Water Gate. If possible, I hope you can depart tonight. Tang Wu could only nod helplessly. This old man will make preparations. After saying that, he turned to leave. The Namgung family head spoke again. When you leave, take Namgung Hai with you as well. I do not want her to witness the battle between me and Du Hyuk. Can it really only be this way? The Namgung family head froze. In the next second, the tears at the corner of his eyes could no longer be held back and rolled down directly. Because I'm afraid, the ones of us who stay behind won't even be able to hold on for 11 days. Idiot, do you think this old man would let such a thing happen? I am Tang Wu, the soul-chasing poison hand. Hold the line for this old man. Even if you have to stake your lives on it, you must endure. This old man will return with reinforcements. With that, he pushed open the door and walked out, preparing to depart. At the side, Dong Bongsu watched all of this clearly. The scene shifted, and Dong Bongsu came alone to the riverside. He had indeed saved Tang Hua, but he had not expected that he would directly overhear the Namgang family's plan. But their plan had too many uncertain factors. More troublesome still, Tang Hua kept sticking close to Dong Bongsu. She looked utterly irritated by the current situation. What exactly is grandfather doing? Why do I have to stay with this blockhead the whole time? But when she looked at Dong Bongsu's silent back, she blushed unconsciously. She walked to Dong Bongsu's side and spoke in a low voice. Thank you for saving me today. Don't misunderstand. I just feel that if I don't say it now, I may never get another chance. But when Dong Bongsu saw the expression on Tang Hua's face, an indescribable unease rose in his heart. At this moment elsewhere, Ash Shadow stood at a height, gazing from afar at the Namgung family opposite him. A figure slowly approached from behind him. Shifting Shadow, you finally come. No, should I be calling you Du Hyuk now? Explain it clearly. How did things end up like this? Ash Shadow, from your tone, it sounds as though I've already lost. Isn't that the case? All 4 shadow guards died in battle. And more importantly, the fact that you're showing yourself now means the first plan has already failed. You're wrong. The core of the first plan was for me to become a hero of the Righteous Alliance. Even if Shifting Shadow is standing here, that doesn't mean I still can't become a hero. As the words fell, Shifting Shadow's body suddenly began to mutate, his skin writhing and surging in a bizarre rhythm. The next second, Shifting Shadow directly transformed into Namgung Hai's appearance. With how I look now, I won't even need to do anything. I will naturally become the heir of the Namgung family. When Ash Shadow saw this, his pupils contracted. Then he burst into laughter. Among everyone he knows, you really are the most twisted one. Now this is perfect. The situation has been completely rewritten. Speaking of which, Namgung Hai, known as the greatest beauty in Anhui, really is beautiful. Even knowing you're a man still makes my heart stir. Shifting Shadow's expression instantly turned cold. Do you want to die? Don't be angry. Whether you're male or female, what difference does it make? In the next second, the auras of both men erupted at once, as if even the air had been bent under the pressure. Just as Shifting Shadow was about to make a move, a large bird happened to sweep across the sky above. Looking carefully, there was even a letter tied to its leg. This is a message from Water Shadow. There was only one word in the letter: float. Looks like the ships have already set sail. Then I should move too. What do you plan to do? I'll follow that hawk and go take a look at Water Shadow's side. Why? The Namgung family side is obviously more interesting. No, I found something even more interesting. You mean the soul-chasing poison hand? Be careful not to overturn your card. Wait, don't tell me it's that flash from last night? You found it? Tell me, who exactly was it? Sorry, there's no way I'm sharing this delicacy with you. Ash Shadow wanted to stop him, but it was already too late. Shifting Shadow vanished from before his eyes just like that. At the same time, the fleet led by Tang Wu set sail in mighty procession. Dong Bongsu and Tang Hua were also following at Tang Wu's side, but all their movements were seen clearly by sentries hidden in the shadows. After putting away his spyglass, the man immediately turned around and hurried back to the main camp to report. Boss, I've confirmed it. Is that so? Then let them hoist sail and depart. This person was none other than the commander of the 18 Yangtze River strongholds, and on the ship, facing this route that could erupt into danger at any moment, Dong Bongsu began to analyze calmly. Even if Tang Wu was a peerless master, bringing along the two burdens Tang Hua and Namgung Hai would make it difficult to escape and scathe through layers of encirclement. If things reached a dead end, and one of Tang Hua, Namgung Hai, and Dong Bongsu had to be abandoned, the one abandoned would definitely be Dong Bongsu, so he had to prepare in advance for the worst outcome. But strangely, after the fleet had sailed for so long, they had not encountered a single enemy. It's too quiet. The enemy has the ability to surround the Namgung family. So by all logic, this water route should also be under military blockade. Just in case, pass down the order to slow down as much as possible. Just as everyone was tense and on full alert, one crewman pointed ahead and shouted hoarsely, "There's light up ahead." In the depths of the mist, a row of glaring firelights suddenly lit up. When everyone saw clearly the symbol on the other side sails, they all rushed onto the deck and shouted excitedly, "Reinforcements are here. We're saved." They must have received the Namgung family's call for help. But that symbol in fact represented the 18 Yangtze River strongholds. Are they really here to help us? But why deploy so many ships? It looks more like they're here to block our path. First, the entire journey had been abnormally quiet, without a single enemy in sight, and now dozens of ships had suddenly appeared to seal off the route ahead. Put those 2 points together, and Tang Wu instantly realized these were not reinforcements, but an encirclement to slaughter them. Turn around immediately and get out of here at once. Everyone, listen to me. They are the enemy. Turn around now. But by this point, it was already too late. The chief stronghold master on the opposite side stood at the bow, with rows of archers behind him, and he spoke coldly, "Loose arrows." The next second, a rain of arrows poured down. Everyone was stunned on the spot. Under the dense barrage of flaming arrows, there was nowhere to hide on the deck, and people fell one after another. As for the ship Dong Bongsu was on, fortunately Tang Wu was there to hold the line, blocking every incoming arrow. But when Dong Bongsu looked at this hellish scene, not only was he not afraid, his eyes instead grew brighter and more excited. Tang Wu roared sharply, "Anyone still alive? Wake up! Turn the ships around at once." But when he turned his head back, his expression changed drastically. Not at some unknown time. The waterway behind them had also been sealed off by the ships of Heavenly Demonic Castle. They had been completely surrounded. "Grandfather, there are enemies both in front and behind us. What do we do?" Tang Wu gritted his teeth and could only order the sailors to steer toward the shore at the side. But before the ship could even touch land, an enemy vessel slammed violently into it. A figure leaped high into the air, and with one staff strike smashed several people aboard into bloody paste on the spot. He landed and stood up, giving an order with a smile, "Kill everyone here." The next second, a one-sided massacre began. Watching this from a distance, Tang Wu felt as if his chest were being crushed, and a deep helplessness surged out. Damn it, is this as far as we can go? As if making an extremely difficult decision, Tang Wu slowly walked toward Nam Gung Hai. In the next second, a silver needle pierced precisely into the side of her neck, and Nam Gung Hai immediately fainted. When Tang Hua saw this, she rushed forward at once. "Grandfather, what are you doing? The water route is blocked. We have to go ashore. But even for you, grandfather, it's impossible to escape while carrying 3 people at once." Tang Wu replied only with a cold sentence, "Only 2. The meaning of those words was very clear. He was going to abandon Dong Bong-su. "Tang Sam, this old man is sorry. I once coveted your aptitude, and I also wanted to use you as the foundation stone of the Tang family." At this point, Tang Wu's voice suddenly lowered, as if he had aged many years in an instant. It seems this old man really has grown old, to actually develop feelings for a mere puppet. "I will not kill you, but neither will I save you. Whether you live or die depends on your own fate." Though Tang Hua was unwilling to leave Dong Bong-su behind, at the moment of life and death, she could only grit her teeth and abandon him, just as Tang Wu was about to leave with the others. "Tang Sam, this is the name this old man gave you. Perhaps the Tang family will not remember you, but this old man will not forget." With that, he leaped into the air and disappeared into the vast night. Tang Hua only turned back to look at Dong Bong-su once, then turned around and followed Tang Wu away. In the end, only Dong Bong-su remained, standing alone in the blazing sea of fire. Then from this moment on, this battle belongs to me. A burly man climbed onto the ship with saber in hand. The instant he lunged at Dong Bong-su turned and brought down his sword, directly chopping his head clean off. Then he grabbed that headless corpse, and step by step, walked forward. Come on, the hunt begins. The sailors on the ship were being tortured and slaughtered one by the enemy, completely unable to resist. At that moment, a figure slowly emerged from the flames. Seeing him, a bald man spoke in confusion. Are you alright like that? Don't worry. I has never been better.